3.7 FM Abuja. Retrospect is a complete package of all the major news headlines that went out during the outgone week. The news round is also expected to refresh your mind about last week while keeping you looking forward to the week ahead with the knowledge of the past. My name is Esther Musu. Thank you for joining us. We'll be right back after this break. Don't go away.
Did you miss out on the news during the week? Not to worry. Retrospect is here to make up for the missed information. Retrospect is a complete package of all the major news headlines that made the airwaves from Sunday to Saturday. Join me, Esther Musu, on the program Retrospect on Citizen 93.7 FM Abuja every Sunday at 6 p.m. Retrospect. We keep you informed.
Welcome back from that break. We begin the week with Monday when the Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, disclosed that the Ministry of Defense under the present administration is prioritizing the expansion of indigenous defense production to ensure sustainable long-term security capabilities. He said the ongoing policy and legislative reforms are revitalizing local defense industries, encouraging private sector participations, creating jobs and deepening local contact while reducing dependency on foreign supplies. Away from that security titan, that Kano State Government House amid speculations of Governor Abba Yusuf planned defection at the main entrance. Combined security personnel are drawn from the Nigerian Police Force and the Department of State Services were stationed on Monday at strategic locations. As the Government House was subjected to strict identification procedures, while operatives securities checks were also intensified, with assets subjected to strict identification procedures by operatives. Kwankwaso, who is the leader of the new Nigerian People's Party, has strongly opposed Yusuf's alleged plan to defect to All Progressive Congress, warning that such a move would destabilize the NMPP and undermine the Kwankwasia movement, but Yusuf had denied any rift. Honorable Abike Dabiarawa, Chairman CEO Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, has extolled the doggedness and resilience of Ms. Chinwe Judith Amadi, a Nigerian female biker who successfully completed a historic ride from Lagos to France and back to Nigeria to raise funds and awareness for cancer patients who cannot afford chemotherapy. She also commended Mr. Odere Okwevuza, a fitness entrepreneur and professional sportsman, for his patriotism and mentorship of young Nigerians. Dabiarawa, who received both Amadi and Odera, said she is proud of them for promoting the ideals and good image of Nigeria through various callings. Still on story that was in the news for Monday, Minister of Federal Capital Territory Nyesom Wike disclosed that only President Bola Tinubu has the right to sack him if he no longer seemed him fit to serve. This comment came after the Ijaw Youth Council condemned the impeachment proceedings against Governor Siminalayi Fubara by the River State House of Assembly and called for the sacking of FCT Minister. Members of the State House of Assembly had last week began impeachment proceedings against Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy with 7 counts of alleged gross misconduct. The Assembly spokesperson, M.M. George, also dismissed the claim that the impeachment process was at the request of Wike. Well, on that note, when the stories that was in the news for Monday, as we look at more stories that made the headline for Tuesday. Niger State delivered military supplies to Nigerian security agencies to bolster security operations in several parts of the country. This was disclosed in a post via X on Tuesday by the United States Africa's Command. Federal government had said that the U.S. government affirmed its readiness to deepen security cooperations with Nigeria, including the provision of enhanced intelligence support, defense equipment, and articles to reinforce ongoing operations against terrorist and violent extremist groups in the country. Last November, federal government dispatched a delegation to Washington aimed at strengthening security partnership between the two countries and opening new avenue for cooperation. Led by the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribado, the delegation met with senior officers across the U.S. Congress, the White House State Office, the State Department, the National Security Council, and the Department of War. Vice President Kashim Shettima charged the public servant to imbibe the value of selflessness and excellence marked by daily discipline, consistency of effort, and strength of character. He stated that during the enduring legacies in public service are sustained by consistent dedication to excellence, resilience, and hard work, regardless of challenges of building enduring institutions. Shettima spoke in Abuja on Tuesday during a curriculum organized to commemorate the 50th birthday of the Special Advisor to the President on Policy and Coordinations and head of the Central Delivery Coordinations Unit, Isabella Usman. He noted that there was no doubt that Usman's place in public service history is secure. Shettima noted that Bala Usman earned her influence in Nigerian's public service through a rare combination of gifts, grace, strengthened by great clarity, guided by courage and visions and excellence. More stories that was in the news for Tuesday. Lagos State government has extended its condolence to celebrated Nigerian author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie following the tragic death of her son in Kano after a reported medical incident at a private healthcare facility in Lagos on January 6th. In a statement issued by the Ministry of Health, the Special Advisor to the Governor on Health, Dr. Kemi Ogunyemi, reaffirmed the state's commitment to protecting the health, safety, and right of all residents. She noted that the government is intensifying oversight of medical practice to prevent the reoccurrence of similar tragedies. Kebbi State government has announced the reopening of Government Girls Comprehensive Secondary School Mega, where 24 schoolgirls were adopted before they were later rescued. The Commissioner for Basic and Secondary Education, Dr. Halima Bende, made this known while briefing journalists shortly after a security meeting with principals and heads of schools in Breen KB on Tuesday. The decision follows the adoption of students from the schools in November last year, after which students were successfully rescued. And on that note, we end the stories that was in the news for Tuesday. Let's look at more stories that made the headline for Wednesday. So begins the stories for Wednesday. Nigerian Police Force says a coordinated security operations across Kogi and Kwara State has led to the rescue of 309 hostages, the arrest of 129 suspected terrorists, and killing of 55 others. The Force Public Relations Officer Benjamin Handai disclosed this in an interview with newsmen. Providing details of the operation, Handai disclosed that suspects were killed during armed confrontation with security operatives, stressing that the incident were not cases of extrajudicial killings. Handai also confirmed that 309 hostages were rescued between Kogi and Kwara during the sustained operation. According to him, the suspects were killed the suspects who were killed refused to surrender and chose to engage operatives despite the arrest of some of their associates. Federal government is conferred various honors and on serving and retired military personnel for their gallantry, sacrifice, innovation, exemplary leadership, and post-service contributions to national development. The awards were presented at the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day Gala Night, held in Abuja on Tuesday at the State House Banquet Hall. Still on stories that was in the news for Wednesday, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, former Minister of Information and Culture, has disclosed how he deployed a two-pronged campaign strategy that helped All Progressive Congress and President Bola Tinubu win the 2023 election. Mohammed disclosed this in his recently integrated book, Headlines and Soundbeats, a media moment that defined an administration which chronicled his experience as minister under the late President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. It will be recalled that ahead of the 2023 election, where he had won ministers, permanent secretaries, and head of government agencies to refrain from abandoning their primary assignment for political campaigns. The late president, who gave the directive at the end of a two-day 2022 ministerial performance review retreat in Abuja, had warned that any infractions of the order would attract sanction. Mohammed, however, reiterated that without prejudice to the presidential directive, he deployed campaign strategies not through rallies or rhetoric, but by defending truth, documenting performance, and ensuring that history was not rewritten by propaganda. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has approved the immediate promotion of over 2,000 workers of Federal Capital Development Authority and Federal Capital Territory Administration. The promotion was as a result of the examination from Tuesday, November 25 to Saturday, November 29, 2025. Chairman of the FCT Civil Service Commission, Emeka Eze, said on Wednesday that over 2,000 civil servants cut across 165 cadres. Eze describes the promotion as a clear demonstration of the FCT Minister's commitment to staff welfare and career progressions, promising that promotion examination will be conducted at when due. The FCT Civil Service Commission Chairman urged its civil servant to begin earlier preparation for the 2025 and 2026 promotion, saying as only diligent and hardworking staff will be promoted. You're listening to Retrospect on Citizen 93.7 FM Abuja. We'll be right back after this break. Don't go away.
Did you miss out on the news during the week? Not to worry. Retrospect is here to make up for the missed information. Retrospect is a complete package of all the major news headlines that made the airwaves from Sunday to Saturday. Join me, Esther Nwusu, on the program Retrospect on Citizen 93.7 FM Abuja every Sunday at 6 p.m. Retrospect. We keep you informed.
It's good to know you're still there. It's still Retrospect on Citizen 93.7 FM Abuja. Now let's look at stories that was in the news. For Thursday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has given approval for the full rollout of Nigeria's carbon market framework, a far-reaching climate policy expected to yield no less than $3 billion in annual revenue by 2030. The decision was made public on Thursday by the Special Assistant to the President on social media through his verified X handle, who described the approval as a decisive move to position Nigeria as a leading player in the global carbon trading space. The framework is designed to stimulate large-scale trading in emissions allowance across strategic sectors of the economy and lock in fresh income streams for country while reinforcing its climate actions agenda. As part of policies, the federal government is set to establish a national carbon registry, mandate emissions reporting by companies, and introduce phased compliance measures consistent with Nigeria's climate obligation. These include the interim emissions reductions target by 2035 and a long-term objective of the net zero emissions by 2060. Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu sends a warm greeting to the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kir, on his birthday. That was on this January 15th. President Tinubu described the former member of the House of Representatives, the two-time senator and a former acting chairman of APC, as a consummate statesman and distinguished public servant whose life has been devoted to service, leadership, and nation building. The president recalled that Senator Kir served with distinctions as commissioner in Borno State, overseeing multiple ministries with a record of rare vitality, competence, and an unwavering commitment to public building. Still on stories that was in the news for Thursday, the Economic Staff Union of Universities expressed hope that the renewal agreement it signed with federal government will prevent strikes for at least 3 years. The two parties on Wednesday signed an unveiled a new agreement aimed at improving the quality of university education system and ensuring stability. Over the years, ASU have repeatedly gone on strikes to demand increased funding for public universities, better welfare for lecturers, and full enforcement of previous agreement. The president of ASU, Professor Chris Buwani, said that if properly implemented, the new agreement could prevent frequent strikes. And on that note, we'll move to stories that was in the news for Friday. Members of River State House of Assembly have insisted that the impeachment process against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odo, will continue, describing it as the only solution to political crisis in the state. Lawmakers made this known on Friday during a live broadcast that aired from in front of River State House of Assembly complex after the Assembly failed to reconvene on Thursday as scheduled. Taking turns to address the media, the legislators maintained that the impeachment proceedings were constitutional and in line with their legislative responsibilities. They dismissed criticisms of the process, insisting that the Assembly was acting within the provision of the law to address what they describe as political impasse in River State. The briefing came a day after the Assembly, led by Speaker Martin Amoale, failed to resume plenary on Thursday, exactly 1 week after adjourning its sitting. The House had, at its sitting last week, initiated impeachment proceedings against Fubara and his deputy over alleged gross misconduct. The allegations included the demolitions of Assembly complex and spending public funds without legislative approval. Away from that, Supreme Court has dismissed the appeal of Aminu Sule Lamido, a 34-year-old son of a former Jigawa Governor Sule Lamido, against his convictions on the charge of failure to declare $40,000 cash at an airport and forced declaration of foreign currency brought against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The Apex Court, in a unanimous judgment of 5-member panel delivered on Friday, resolved that all 3 issues identified for determination in the appeal against the appellant. The lead judgment, written by Justice Adamu Joro, but read by Justice Abubakar Umaru, the Apex Court, held that appeal lacked merit, dismissed it, and affirmed the earlier judgment of Court of Appeal Kaduna, which upheld the decision of Federal High Court Kano. The Federal High Court Kano had, in its judgment on July 12, 2015, convicted Aminu and ordered him to forfeit 25% of undeclared foreign currency to federal government. Away from that, a renowned Islamic cleric, Imam Abubakar Abdullahi, credited with saving hundreds of lives during violent communal clashes in Plateau State, has died. Abdullahi of Nanga village, Barkin Ladi, local government area, passed away at the age of 90. His death was confirmed on Friday by his son, Salah Abubakar, who said the respected Islamic leader died on Thursday night at Plateau Specialist Hospital in Jos after battling a heart-related disease. According to the family, the Imam had been hospitalized for about 10 days before his death and explained that his father's health had remained unstable since he was diagnosed with heart conditions, so despite regular medical checks-up. Imam Abubakar rose to national and international prominence in June 2018 during deadly faith-based attacks in Barkin Ladi that affected at least 10 villages. At the peak of violence, he sheltered 262 Christians inside a mosque and his personal residence, protecting them from attackers. And that's our package on the program, Retrospect on Citizen 93.7 FM Abuja. You can follow us on our social media handles on Facebook at Citizen FM Abuja, on Instagram at Citizen 937 Abuja, on Twitter, now known as X, at Citizen FM 937. You can also check us out on our website on citizenfm.ng. Let's make it a date, same time and next week on Retrospect. I am Esther Wosu. Bye for now.
Did you miss out on the news during the week? Not to worry. Retrospect is here to